The massive council chambers stretched for kilometers in every direction. 47 different species sat in their specially designed sections, each area built to match their home world conditions. The air shimmered with translation fields, converting thoughts and sounds into understandable communication for all present. Ambassador Kethfer of the Zephyrian Collective stood at the central platform, his forearms trembling slightly. His people were known throughout the galaxy for their careful research and accurate predictions. They had spent 300 years studying other species before making first contact. They were never wrong about these things. Today, Kethfer wished he was wrong. Honored council members, he began, his voice carrying through the translation systems. I come before you with an urgent warning about the species called humans. They have just achieved faster than light travel and will soon make contact with our civilizations. When that happens, I beg you to remember one simple rule: do not attack them. A wave of chittering, buzzing, and electromagnetic pulses swept through the chamber. Several species found the idea amusing. The Hegemony Alliance section erupted in what their translators rendered as laughter. High Counselor Rextoth stood up, his massive form casting shadows across nearby sections. Ambassador Kethfer, Rextoth said, his tone dripping with amusement. Are you seriously asking this council to fear a species that has barely left their home system? According to our scouts, they have only 12 worlds and use primitive fusion drives. What possible threat could they pose? Kethfer had expected this reaction. He activated the holographic display system, and images began floating above the platform. Allow me to show you what my people have observed during our study of Earth. The first image showed a vast African plain. A group of early humans moved across it, following a herd of large animals. This is how humans hunted for most of their evolution. They call it persistence hunting. Watch carefully. The hologram played forward at accelerated speed. The humans followed their prey for hours, then days. Other predators gave up after short chases, but the humans never stopped. They tracked the animals across rivers, through forests, over mountains. When their prey tried to rest, the humans appeared again, forcing them to keep running. The animals were faster than humans, Kethfer explained. They were stronger. They had better weapons, claws, teeth, thick hides. But none of that mattered. The humans simply never stopped chasing them. Eventually, the prey collapsed from exhaustion and the humans killed it. A new image appeared, showing human soldiers in a jungle. This is from one of their wars. A human patrol was attacked and 3 soldiers were killed. Watch what happened next. The display showed months of activity. Human teams searched through dangerous territory, fighting off attacks, following cold trails. They interviewed local people, studied broken equipment, analyzed every tiny clue. Other armies would have given up after a few days or weeks. The humans searched for 8 months until they found the bodies of their fallen soldiers. They brought their dead home, Kethfer said quietly. Every single one. It did not matter how long it took or how dangerous it was. They never left anyone behind. More images followed. Human rescue teams searching for survivors after disasters, never giving up even when the chances were hopeless. Scientists spending decades trying to solve a single problem. Families searching for missing relatives for years. This is their nature, Kethfer continued. When humans decide to hunt something, they do not stop, ever. They will track their prey across space and time itself if necessary. Council of Rextoth waved dismissively. These are primitive behaviors, Ambassador. Surely a spacefaring civilization would abandon such wasteful practices. Kethfer's skin color shifted to deep purple, a sign of serious concern among his people. That is where you are wrong, Counselor. Let me show you their space program. New images appeared, showing human spacecraft. When they first tried to reach their moon, 3 humans died in a fire during a test. The humans could have given up, could have decided space travel was too dangerous. Instead, they completely rebuilt their program and tried again. When another mission nearly ended in disaster, they worked for years to bring their people home safely. The display showed the human Mars colony. They have been trying to reach this planet for over a century. Dozens of missions failed. They lost robots, lost data, lost billions of their currency units. A rational species would have given up. Humans sent bigger robots. And now, Kethver said, bringing up recent images, they have established permanent colonies on 12 worlds. Each one was considered impossible by their own experts. Each one required solving thousands of technical problems. Each one saw setbacks that would have stopped other species. The chamber had grown quieter as more council members began paying attention. The images were unsettling in their implications. But surely, said Councillor Hashtani of the Crystal Federation, their primitive nature makes them weak? Our scans show they have no natural armor, limited physical strength, poor sensory abilities compared to most spacefaring species. Kethver nodded sadly. Yes, individually, they seem weak. But humans do not hunt alone. When one human is threatened, all humans respond. They call it pack bonding, and it extends to their entire species. He showed footage from human history. When a small group was attacked on one of their continents, humans from the other side of their planet traveled for months to help them. When their cities were bombed in wars, every human factory began making weapons. When terrorists attacked civilian targets, every human government worked together to hunt down the responsible groups. The final image showed recent human space activities. Ships moved in coordinated patterns, sharing resources and information across vast distances. They are not just a civilization, honored counselors. They are a pack. Attack one human, and you attack all humans. And when you attack their pack, they will hunt you with the same persistence they once used to chase prey across their home world. Kethver deactivated the display and looked around the chamber. I have studied 43 species before they achieved spaceflight. I have seen aggressive hunters, brilliant engineers, powerful warriors, and wise philosophers. I have never seen anything like humans. They combine the persistence of a predator with the cooperation of a hive mind and the innovation of a chaotic system. He paused, letting his words sink in. If you leave them alone, they will probably leave you alone. They seem to prefer trading and learning to fighting. But if you attack them, if you hurt their pack, they will not negotiate. They will not forgive. They will not forget. They will hunt you across the galaxy until either you are dead or they are. The chamber fell completely silent. Even the ambient noise from life support systems seemed muted. Do not attack the humans, Kethver said one final time. Because if you do, they will hunt you forever. High Councillor Vrextoth rose from his seat, his massive bulk causing the floor to vibrate. The Hegemony Alliance controlled 23 star systems and had never lost a war. Their military doctrine was simple and effective. Show overwhelming force, demand surrender, install a puppet government. It had worked on every species they had encountered. Ambassador Kethver, Vrextoth said, his voice booming through the translation systems. With respect to your people's research abilities, I believe you are overreacting to primitive behaviors. Every species goes through aggressive phases during their early development. Space travel tends to civilize them. Murmurs of agreement rippled through several sections of the council chamber. The Skarn Empire delegation nodded their serpentine heads in unison. The Trade Federation representatives flashed their agreement signals. Many council members had built their civilizations by conquering or absorbing smaller species during their expansion phases. Consider the facts, Vrextoth continued, activating his own display system. Humans have 12 worlds with a total population of 8 billion individuals. Their largest ships are barely 3 kilometers long. Their weapons are simple kinetic projectiles and fusion warheads. They have no energy shields, no gravity manipulation, no quantum weapons. The display showed comparative military strengths. The hegemony alone had over 200 worlds, 15 billion citizens, and ships that could crack moons. Their energy weapons could glass planets from orbit, and their shields could deflect anything humans might throw at them. Ambassador Kethver speaks of persistence and cooperation, Rextoth said dismissively. But persistence is useless against superior technology. Cooperation means nothing when facing overwhelming force. These humans are like insects trying to fight star gods. Councillor Mara of the Silicon Consortium stood next, her crystalline form refracting light across the chamber. I have reviewed the data our trade scouts have gathered about human economics. Their entire civilization produces less energy per day than a single one of our industrial worlds. Their manufacturing capacity is primitive. Their resource extraction is limited to physical mining rather than molecular conversion. More species began speaking up, each adding to the growing consensus that humans were not a threat. The Void Hunters mentioned their weak sensory abilities. The Crystal Federation pointed out their short lifespans. The Machine Collective noted their biological limitations. Ambassador Kethver tried to interrupt several times, but the momentum of the discussion had shifted against him. Council members were now competing to list human weaknesses and primitive technologies. May I remind the Council, said Admiral Zeekther of the Skarn Empire, that we have successfully integrated 47 species into our empire over the past millennium. Each one initially showed some resistance, but proper application of force quickly brought them to reason. These humans will be no different. In fact, Admiral Zeekther continued, their primitive nature may make integration easier. They will likely worship our technology as magic and accept our rule as divine mandate. We have seen this pattern before with early spacefaring species. Rextoth activated a new display showing human space territory. Look at their expansion pattern. 12 worlds scattered across 40 light years with minimal defensive positions. Their colonies are isolated and vulnerable. A coordinated strike on 3 or 4 key worlds would force immediate surrender. The real question, said Trade Director Malvani, is how we divide their territory. Human space occupies several important trade routes between established sectors. Their worlds appear to have significant mineral deposits, and at least 3 worlds are suitable for various atmospheric preferences. The discussion quickly shifted from whether humans were a threat to how their territory should be distributed among council members. Several species began making claims based on proximity to human space or compatibility with human worlds. Ambassador Kethvar watched in growing horror as the council transformed his warning into a planning session for human conquest. He tried once more to gain their attention. Honored counselors, he called out, his voice amplified to override the side conversations. You are missing the fundamental point. Humans are not like the species you have conquered before. They do not think like us. They do not react like us. Their entire evolutionary history has shaped them into something unique. Unique how? Rextoth asked with obvious impatience. They breathe oxygen, they reproduce biologically, they build tools. They seem entirely typical, except for their primitive technology levels. Kefir activated his display one more time, showing human historical records. Let me tell you about their wars. When other species fight, they battle for territory, resources, or political control. When they achieve their goals or suffer too many losses, they negotiate peace and move on. The images showed human conflicts throughout their history. Humans do not stop fighting when they achieve their goals. They stop fighting when their enemies are completely destroyed or completely surrendered. Look at their Second World War. They fought until their enemies Governments were abolished and their leaders were captured or dead. They occupied their enemies' home territories for decades afterward. But surely that was just one war. Councillor Heshtani protested. No, Kethver said, showing more examples. They fought for 200 years to eliminate slavery from their planet. They hunted pirates across their oceans for centuries. They spent decades tracking down individual war criminals from conflicts that ended 50 years earlier. When humans decide something is wrong, they do not compromise. They do not negotiate. They fix it permanently. The chamber grew somewhat quieter, but Rextoth waved dismissively. Ancient history, Ambassador. These are the behaviors of a divided primitive species. Once they face a true galactic power, they will quickly learn the futility of resistance. I have studied their recent activities, Kethver said desperately. When pirates attacked one human colony ship, every human government contributed resources to hunt them down. They tracked the pirate fleet for 3 years across interstellar space. They could have simply increased security or avoided that region. Instead, they eliminated every single pirate ship and captured their bases. 3 years to hunt pirates, Admiral Ziegler laughed. We would have glassed their bases from orbit and moved on. Humans are clearly inefficient in their approach to problem solving. Kethver realized he was losing the argument entirely. The council members were interpreting every example of human persistence as evidence of primitive thinking, rather than understanding it as a warning about human nature. I formally request that this council classify humans as it comes as a souls. Protected developing species, Kethver said, playing his last diplomatic card. Allow them time to mature and join galactic civilization peacefully. Denied, Rextoth said immediately. Humans occupied too much valuable territory to leave undeveloped. The Council will classify them as a minor spacefaring species with standard first contact protocols. The vote was called quickly. 31 species voted for standard protocols, which essentially meant humans could be contacted, conquered, or absorbed by any council member following basic galactic law. 16 species supported protected status, mainly smaller civilizations that remembered what it was like to be weak. The matter is settled, Rextoth announced. Humans will be treated as any other minor spacefaring species. Council members may engage them diplomatically, economically, or militarily as they see fit. As the council session ended, various species began making plans. The hegemony would claim the most valuable worlds. The Skarn Empire would take strategic positions along trade routes. The Trade Federation would establish economic dominance over human commerce. Ambassador Kethver gathered his materials and prepared to leave. As he walked toward the exit, he passed Admiral Ziegler in the corridor. "Do not worry, Ambassador," the Admiral said in what he probably thought was a reassuring tone. "We will be merciful to the humans. Quick conquest is actually kinder than prolonged resistance. They will thank us for bringing them into galactic civilization." Kethver looked at the confident Admiral and felt a chill run through his body. "Admiral, I hope you remember this conversation in 2 years." "Why?" Ziegler asked, puzzled. "Because that is how long I estimate it will take for humans to completely destroy the Hegemony Alliance after you attack them." The Admiral laughed and walked away, already making plans for the easiest conquest in Hegemony history. Admiral Ziegler commanded the Hegemony's third fleet from the bridge of his flagship, the Inevitable Victory. Around him, 47 warships moved in perfect formation toward the human colony world of New Geneva. This would be his easiest campaign yet. "Admiral," reported his tactical officer, "we are detecting standard defensive positions around the target world. Orbital platforms, patrol ships, ground-based installations. Nothing our shields cannot handle easily." "Excellent," Ziegler replied, settling into his command chair. "Signal the fleet to assume bombardment formation." We will follow standard protocol. Destroy military targets, demand surrender, establish control. I expect this operation to be complete within 72 hours. New Geneva was a typical human colony world, established only 15 years earlier. 2 million humans lived there, mostly families involved in mining operations and agricultural development. According to intelligence reports, their heaviest weapons were industrial mining charges and some small defensive platforms. Bombardment formation achieved, Admiral, his weapons officer reported. All ships ready to fire. Open communications to the planet, Ziegler ordered. Let us give these humans a chance to surrender before we demonstrate our power. The main display showed a human woman in what appeared to be a civilian administrative office. She looked young by human standards, perhaps 30 years old, with short brown hair and calm eyes. I am Admiral Ziegler of the Hegemony Alliance, he announced in his most authoritative voice. You are now under our protection. Surrender all military assets and prepare for integration into the hegemony. You have 1 hour to comply. The human woman tilted her head slightly. I'm Governor Sarah Chun of New Geneva Colony. Could you repeat that request, please? Ziegler frowned. Most species showed immediate fear when confronted by a hegemony fleet. This human seemed confused rather than afraid. This is not a request, he said more firmly. This is a demand for unconditional surrender. You cannot resist our forces. Submit now and your integration will be peaceful. Governor Chun was quiet for several moments, then said, I need to consult with my people. May I have 24 hours to consider your demand? You have 1 hour, Ziegler repeated. Refuse, and we will begin orbital bombardment. Understood, Chun said, and closed the communication. Ziegler leaned back in his chair, satisfied. The human had shown proper respect for hegemony power. She was clearly buying time to organize a surrender ceremony. Most species needed a few hours to accept the reality of their situation. 1 hour later, there had been no response from the planet. Admiral, his communications officer reported, we are receiving no signals from the planetary government. All communication channels are open, but no one is responding. Very well, Ziegler said. Begin bombardment of military targets. Avoid civilian areas for now. We want these humans alive to serve the hegemony. The fleet's energy weapons lanced down from orbit, striking the defensive platforms and military bases with pinpoint precision. Secondary explosions bloomed across the planet's surface as ammunition stores and fuel depots were destroyed. Within 2 hours, every visible military installation had been reduced to smoking craters. Bombardment complete, Admiral, the weapons officer reported. No defensive fire detected. All military targets destroyed. Excellent, Ziegler said. Prepare landing forces. We will occupy the major population centers and establish control. The first wave of hegemony troops landed in transport ships near the colony's capital city. They expected to find frightened humans waiting for instructions. Instead, they found empty streets and abandoned buildings. Ground Commander Vex High reporting. Came the voice from the surface. Sir, the city appears to be completely evacuated. No humans detected in the urban areas. Search the surrounding areas, Ziegler ordered. 2 million humans cannot simply disappear. They must be hiding in the countryside. Over the next several days, hegemony forces spread across the planet, searching for the missing human population. They found evidence of recent habitation, warm food, running vehicles, active power grids, but no people. This is very strange, Admiral, Ground Commander Vex High reported on the 4th day. We have found several abandoned settlements, but no sign of where the humans went. It is as if they simply vanished. Keep searching, Ziegler ordered. Deploy sensor drones to scan the entire planet's surface. They must be hiding somewhere. That night, the hunting began. Private Kolthik was on patrol duty around Landing Zone 7 when he disappeared. His squad found his equipment scattered across a 50-meter area with drag marks leading into the forest. When they followed the trail, they found Kolthik's body 3 kilometers away, positioned carefully so they would discover it. "Command, this is Squad Leader Molvex," came the nervous report. "We found Private Kolthik. He appears to have been killed by some kind of projectile weapon. But sir, his body was arranged. Someone wanted us to find it." More soldiers began disappearing over the following days. Not in large groups during firefights, but individually or in pairs during routine activities. Each time, the bodies were found in locations that forced other troops to search through dangerous terrain to recover them. Admiral Ground Commander Vex High reported, his voice showing strain. "I am losing troops daily to these attacks. But we never see the attackers. No energy signatures, no mass formations, no fixed positions to assault. It is as if the planet itself is hunting my soldiers." Ziegler studied the tactical displays, growing increasingly frustrated. This was supposed to be a simple occupation, not a prolonged campaign. Double the patrols. Keep soldiers in larger groups. Deploy more sensors. Sir, I have tried all of those measures. Larger patrols just give the humans bigger targets. Our sensors detect nothing useful. The attackers appear to be using primitive projectile weapons and simple explosives. They make no electronic emissions we can track. As days turned into weeks, the psychological pressure on hegemony forces became severe. Soldiers began reporting that they felt constantly watched. Equipment would disappear from supposedly secure areas. Personal items from dead soldiers would be found in other locations, clearly moved by human hands. "They know our names," one soldier reported during a psychological evaluation. "I found Private Jakal's identification tags on my bunk yesterday. But Jakal died 2 weeks ago, and his body is in our morgue. Someone took those tags from his corpse and placed them where I would find them." The humans were not fighting a military campaign. They were conducting a hunting expedition, and every hegemony soldier was prey. Admiral Ground Commander Vex High called urgently. "I need to report something disturbing. We captured one of the attackers yesterday during an ambush." "Excellent," Ziegler replied. "What intelligence did you gather?" "Sir, it was a human child. Female, approximately 12 years old by their standards. She was carrying a weapon and attacking our soldiers." Ziegler paused, confused. "A child? Where were the adult soldiers?" "That is the problem, sir. According to the child, there are no soldiers. The entire human population is participating in the resistance. Men, women, children, elderly. They are all hunting us. Every human on this planet considers us their personal prey." The realization began to sink in. The hegemony was not fighting an army. They were fighting an entire species that had collectively decided to hunt them. "How many troops have we lost?" Ziegler asked quietly. "Over 400 in the past month, sir. And the attacks are becoming more sophisticated. They are studying our behavior patterns, learning our weaknesses, adapting their tactics to specifically target individual soldiers." Ziegler stared at the tactical display, finally beginning to understand what Ambassador Kethvar had tried to warn them about. The humans were not trying to win a war. They were hunting the hegemony forces with the same persistent, methodical approach their ancestors had used to chase prey across ancient plains. "Sir," his communications officer reported, "we are receiving a transmission from the human government." The main screen showed Governor Chun again, but now she was standing in what appeared to be a forest clearing. She looked exactly as calm as she had during their first conversation. "Admiral Ziegler," she said politely, "I wanted to inform you that we have decided not to surrender. We have sent word to other human worlds about your attack. They are very interested in meeting you. The transmission ended, leaving Ziegler staring at a blank screen and finally understanding the magnitude of his mistake. The message reached Earth's capital exactly 18 hours after the first hegemony ships appeared over New Geneva. President Elizabeth Martinez sat in the emergency session of the Global Defense Council, watching the recorded transmission from Governor Chun. "They took New Geneva," Chun's voice said calmly from the speakers. "The Hegemony Alliance has invaded our colony with 47 warships. They demanded our surrender and began orbital bombardment when we asked for time to consider. We are now conducting resistance operations and request immediate assistance from all human worlds." The council chamber fell silent. 12 worlds with 8 billion people had just learned that aliens had attacked one of their colonies. In that moment of silence, something ancient awakened in human psychology, something that had driven their species to become the dominant hunters on their home planet. "Madam President," said General Harrison, "Commander of Earth's Space Forces, I recommend we begin immediate mobilization of all available military assets. But I should point out that our combined fleet strength is insufficient to challenge the force that attacked New Geneva." President Martinez looked around the room at the faces of her advisors. She saw anger, determination, and something else, a cold, calculating expression that her species had worn while tracking prey across prehistoric landscapes. "General," she said quietly, "this is not about fleet strength. Send a message to every human world, every ship, every station. Tell them what happened to New Geneva. Tell them we are going hunting." Within hours, the message spread through human space faster than any official communication had ever traveled. The attack on New Geneva became known to every human community, from the mining stations in the asteroid belt to the research colonies at the edge of explored space. But the human response was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Other species mobilized their militaries when attacked. Humans mobilized their entire civilization. Dr. Sarah Kim had been working on theoretical physics at the University of New Tokyo. When she heard about New Geneva, she abandoned her research into dimensional mechanics and began designing new weapons. "They want to hunt us," she told her research team. "Let's give them something to be afraid of." 8-year-old Tommy Chun from Luna Colony donated his birthday money to the war effort. His message, attached to the donation, was simple: buy bullets to hurt the aliens who took our people. Artists across human space began creating propaganda that spread through the networks like wildfire. Musicians wrote songs about hunting aliens through the darkness between stars. Writers created stories about human persistence that became recruiting tools. The message was always the same: they took our people. Now we take them. But the most terrifying aspect of the human response was not its intensity. It was its patience. Captain James Rodriguez commanded the human vessel. Relentless as it stalked a lone hegemony supply ship through the outer rim, his crew had been following this single target for 6 weeks, learning its patrol route, studying its crew's behavior patterns, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. "Captain," his tactical officer reported, "the target is following its standard route through the Kepler system. We could engage now." "Negative," Rodriguez replied, studying the tactical display. "We wait until they reach the asteroid field near Kepler 7. I want them to understand that we can strike anywhere, anytime." "Fear is a weapon, Lieutenant." When the hegemony ship finally reached the predetermined location, the Relentless attacked with surgical precision. They disabled the engines, destroyed the weapons, and boarded the vessel. But instead of taking prisoners or destroying the ship immediately, they did something that would terrify every hegemony soldier who heard the story. They took trophies, personal items from each crew member, insignia from their uniforms, recording devices that had captured the crew's final moments. Then they placed these items in a cargo pod and launched it toward hegemony space with a simple message. We know who you are. We know where you come from. We will find you. This pattern repeated across dozens of star systems. Human ships appeared wherever hegemony forces operated, but they did not fight conventional battles. They hunted. Individual ships, small squadrons, isolated bases, all became targets for methodical stalking campaigns that could last months. Commander Vaxcall of the Hegemony 4th Fleet found himself being followed by 3 human vessels for 47 days. Every time he changed course, they appeared again. When he stopped to refuel, they watched from the edge of sensor range. When he tried to engage them, they vanished into asteroid fields or gas clouds, only to reappear later. They are not trying to destroy us quickly, he reported to Hegemony Command. They are hunting us for sport. My crew is beginning to suffer psychological breakdowns from the constant pressure. The psychological warfare was devastating. Hegemony soldiers began finding human symbols carved into their ship's hulls during routine maintenance. Personal messages appeared on their communication systems. Messages that included details about their families, their home worlds, their personal fears. We know about your daughter on Hegemony Prime, one message read. We know about your brother in the merchant fleet. We know where you sleep at night. Surrender now, or we will visit them next. But the most frightening discovery came when Hegemony intelligence analyzed captured human communications. The humans were not being directed by a central military command. Every human ship, every human world, every human individual was participating in the hunt based on their own initiative. A human freighter captain would spend her cargo profits to buy weapons and hunt hegemony ships. A human scientist would abandon his research to develop better tracking technology. A human child would learn to operate communications equipment specifically to intercept hegemony signals. They have turned their entire species into a single hunting pack, reported Intelligence Director Colmex in a classified briefing to hegemony leadership. When we attacked one colony, we declared war against every human who has ever lived or ever will live. They are not fighting to defend territory. They are hunting us for revenge. The economic impact was equally devastating. Human space had never been militarized, but within 6 months of the New Geneva attack, their entire economy had shifted to support the hunt. Merchant ships were converted to scouts and raiders. Industrial facilities began producing weapons instead of consumer goods. Agricultural worlds organized supply lines to support human military operations. More terrifying still, humans began studying hegemony psychology and biology with the same methodical persistence they applied to everything else. They learned which sounds caused fear responses in hegemony troops. They discovered which colors and patterns triggered anxiety. They developed weapons specifically designed to cause maximum psychological trauma rather than quick death. Sir, reported Captain Melther from his position monitoring human space, I have disturbing news about human research activities. They have established facilities specifically dedicated to studying captured hegemony equipment and personnel. But they are not trying to understand our technology. What are they studying? Asked Admiral Vrextuth. Sir, they are learning how we think, how we react, what we fear. They are conducting psychological profiles of individual hegemony soldiers and commanders. They know more about our leadership structure than some of our own officers. The final blow came when humans began appearing in hegemony home territory. Not invasion fleets, but small groups conducting targeted raids against military installations, government facilities, and industrial complexes. They would strike a target, leave evidence of their presence, and disappear before reinforcements could arrive. They are not trying to conquer our space, Admiral Vrextuth finally admitted during an emergency council meeting. They are marking us. Every raid, every attack, every psychological operation is designed to prove that they can reach us anywhere. They want us to know that we are being hunted. High Counselor Dexmani stood up, his forearms trembling with what humans would recognize as fear. Admiral, I recommend we attempt to negotiate a ceasefire. Perhaps we can reach a reasonable settlement. Sir, Admiral Vrextuth replied quietly. I sent a diplomatic message to the human government yesterday. Their response was brief. He activated the communication system, and a human voice filled the chamber. It was calm, polite, and absolutely terrifying in its certainty. We do not negotiate with prey, the voice said. Find our people. Return our people. Surrender your leadership for trial, or we will hunt every one of you until your species is extinct. You have attacked the pack. Now the pack hunts you. The transmission ended, leaving the hegemony leadership in stunned silence, finally understanding that they had started a war they could never win. Ambassador Kethver stood in the same council chamber where he had delivered his warning 2 years earlier. The massive space station still housed representatives from dozens of species, but the atmosphere had changed completely. Where once there had been confident discussions of territorial expansion and resource allocation, now there was nervous silence and careful diplomatic language. The Hegemony Alliance section was empty. The final hegemony holdout was located yesterday, reported Captain Sarah Chun, the new human ambassador to the Galactic Council. She stood at the central platform where Kethver had once tried to warn them about her species. Admiral Vrextoth was captured attempting to escape in a civilian transport near the Andromeda portal. He will be transported to Earth for trial along with the other war criminals. The chamber was completely silent. Every species present had watched in horror as humans systematically hunted the Hegemony Alliance to extinction over the course of 24 months. Not destroyed in battle, hunted. Tracked down ship by ship, base by base, individual by individual, until nothing remained. Ambassador Chun, said Counselor Hashtani of the Crystal Federation, her voice carefully neutral. The Council would like to understand the current status of former hegemony territory. Human colonies are being established on 17 former hegemony worlds. Chun replied matter-of-factly. These worlds were used as military bases for the attack on our people. We are converting them into monitoring stations to ensure this type of aggression does not happen again. She activated a holographic display showing human space, which had expanded dramatically since the hegemony's destruction. But the expansion was not typical conquest. Instead of taking valuable worlds, humans had established bases throughout the galaxy in positions that allowed them to monitor and intercept any potentially hostile fleet movements. The remaining former hegemony territory is being distributed to species that were oppressed under their rule, Chun continued. We have no interest in ruling other peoples. We are not conquerors. Then what are you? Asked Trade Director Malvani. The question that everyone wanted answered but had been afraid to ask. Chun was quiet for several moments, considering her response. When she spoke, her voice carried the same calm certainty that had characterized every human communication since the war began. We are hunters, she said simply. For most of our evolution, we were prey animals. We were not the strongest or fastest or most dangerous creatures on our planet. But we learned to hunt by being persistent. We learned to survive by working together. We learned to win by never giving up. The display changed to show human activity throughout the galaxy. Ships moved in complex patterns, maintaining communication networks, sharing intelligence, coordinating resources across vast distances. When you attacked New Geneva, you did not attack a military target, Chun explained. You attacked our pack. Every human who heard about that attack felt personally threatened. Every human who learned about hegemony plans to conquer our space understood that their children were in danger. Counselor Thexmani of the Silicon Collective stood up nervously. Ambassador, the Council acknowledges that the hegemony's actions were aggressive and unjustified. But surely your response was excessive? The complete destruction of their civilization? Chun turned to look directly at him. Counselor, let me tell you about the last hegemony base we captured. It was hidden in an asteroid field in the outer rim, designed to be completely undetectable. The survivors there had been hiding for 8 months, believing they were safe. The display showed footage from the assault on the base. Human ships emerged from what appeared to be empty space, having waited motionless in the asteroid field for weeks until the base's crew became complacent. We found them because we never stopped looking, Chun said. One of our tracking teams have been following supply runs to that location for 6 months. They analyzed fuel consumption patterns, traced communication relays, studied garbage disposal schedules. When we finally attacked, we knew the name of every person in that base and their daily routines. The implications sank in around the chamber. The humans had not just defeated the hegemony military. They had hunted down every individual member of their species with methodical precision. This is what humans do, Chun continued. When something threatens our pack, we do not negotiate or compromise. We hunt it until it is no longer a threat. The hegemony chose to make themselves a threat to all humans everywhere. We responded appropriately. Ambassador Kethfer finally stood up, his forearms displaying the complex gesture that indicated deep respect among his people. Ambassador Chun, he said formally, I attempted to warn this council about your species' nature 2 years ago. I fear my warning was insufficient. Would you be willing to clarify the current situation for species that might consider aggressive actions against human interests? Chun nodded respectfully to Kethfer. Ambassador, your warning was completely accurate. You told this council not to attack humans because we would hunt them forever. The hegemony chose not to listen. The result speaks for itself. She activated a new display showing the current state of galactic civilization. Humans are willing to be peaceful neighbors to any species that respects our sovereignty and the sovereignty of our allies. We prefer trade to war, cooperation to conflict, exploration to conquest. The display showed human trading ships, research vessels, and diplomatic missions spread throughout known space, all operating peacefully alongside other species. But, Chun continued, every species should understand that we remember everything. We remember every kindness and every betrayal. We remember every species that helped us and every species that threatened us. Our memories are permanent, and our patience is infinite. She paused, letting her words sink in before delivering the final point. The hegemony attacked 1 human colony and attempted to conquer 12 human worlds. In response, we eliminated their entire civilization and captured their leadership for trial. This was not revenge. This was pest control. We removed a dangerous predator from the ecosystem. Trade Director Malvani asked the question that would define galactic politics for the next millennium. What would happen if another species attacked human interests? Chun's answer was simple and absolutely terrifying. We would hunt them until they were no longer capable of threatening anyone. We would pursue them across the galaxy and through time itself if necessary. We would never stop, never tire, never forgive, and never forget. She looked around the chamber at the representatives of 46 species, all of whom now understood exactly what humans were capable of. We do not want to rule you, she said gently. We do not want your worlds or your resources. We want to explore the galaxy, learn from other species, and build a civilization based on cooperation rather than conquest. But we will never again allow anyone to hunt us. The final image on the display showed human settlements throughout the galaxy. Not conquest fleets, but families, researchers, traders, and yes, watchers. Humans had positioned themselves to monitor every major space route, every potential threat, every species that might consider aggression. We are the apex predators now, Chun said matter-of-factly. Not because we conquered anyone, but because we proved that attacking us results in extinction. Every species in this chamber can choose to be our friend, our trading partner, or our research colleague. Those are your options. She deactivated the display and prepared to leave the platform. The floor is open for questions about human intentions or policies. I am here to ensure that all species understand exactly where they stand in the new galactic order. The chamber remained absolutely silent for several minutes. Finally, Councillor Hashtani raised her hand tentatively. Ambassador Chun, how can our species demonstrate that we wish to be allies rather than threats? Chun smiled for the first time during her presentation. Very easily, Counselor. Treat us with the same respect you would want for your own people. Honor your agreements with us. Do not threaten our colonies or our allies. In exchange, humans will be the most loyal friends you have ever had. As the session ended, Ambassador Kethfer approached Chung near the exit. Ambassador, he said quietly, I am sorry my warning was not heeded. Perhaps if I had been more persuasive. Chun shook her head. Ambassador, your warning was perfect. You told them exactly what would happen if they attacked us. The hegemony chose not to listen. That was their decision and their responsibility. She looked around the chamber where representatives were quietly discussing how to approach these new apex predators. Besides, Chun added with a slight smile, now everyone knows for certain that humans mean what we say. That should make diplomacy much more straightforward in the future. As they walked toward the exit together, Kepher reflected that he had never seen a more peaceful transition of power in galactic history. No conquered territories, no enslaved populations, no imposed governments. Just the simple understanding that one species had proven itself to be the ultimate hunters in the galaxy, and everyone else would need to adjust their behavior accordingly. The age of human hunting had begun, and the galaxy was a much safer place for everyone who chose not to be prey.